Okay, guys, we continue with the third episode, and what we have to do in this episode is we need to change the pants so that they fit the picture, right? So we need to push this out a bit. Let me see where the picture is. Gotta put it in pure ref, and then we're good to go. Okay, so we just drag it over. Tada, that's it. Now this is what I meant. Do you see how it pops up? And we have to do it here. So I just imported it, the raw file we have. And I clicked make polymesh 3D, edit, standard stuff. And now we have to push this out a bit. I want to push it out a bit. But before I do that, I want to go into polygroups down here and auto group with UE. This is what we already did. I'm just checking from recording. Yes, I am. This is something we already did with the shirt. So we're basically doing the same thing. Except of one thing. You see, this is not different polygroup, this part that I made. And that is because I didn't cut it off. If I cut it off, it would have been a different polygroup. You see, like with this, and the rest. We have a lot more polygroups here than we did with the shirt. Shirt, we only had 3. But okay, let me show you. So, let's see. What do I not like? I don't like this part, so I'm just... tapping, holding shift and just tapping gently, not too hard. I don't want to lose too much details. See this? I don't want it to be too big, but I don't know, maybe we leave it. We'll see what we get in the end. I'm really curious what happens when I'm not being perfectionist. These parts, you see how these parts are a bit blocky, but it's still okay from the distance, but I'm allergic to it. Just smooth it out a bit, not too much. Be careful not to smooth these edges. If you smooth these folds, you kind of ruin all of the work with it. But let me show you what I want to do next. These are little tips that help. Basically, if you hold Control, you get to mask. Control and left click, right? And if you hold Control and Alt, you get to unmask. So what I'm doing here is I'm unmasking this, so I can make this part pop. So you see this? So you just click B, S, D, and you have a standard brush, right? And you just draw over this, and then you get like this little, you see what I mean? A little pop off. It looks better. And then you hold Control Alt, and you drag over everything, so we remove the mask. You see, it gives you, it's not a big deal, but it gives you a bit of, how do you call it? Height. So we want to do the same thing for this part down here. If you hold, I think it's Control, Shift and Alt in the same time, you can drag only over these parts. So you cut them off, you see? And then you do Control I, and you just Control Shift click here, and then you Control Shift here. It doesn't work, never mind. It doesn't work the way I wanted to. Let me see, I forgot the hotkey. Control Alt, no. It was Control Shift, but I don't know why is it not working. Yeah, it's Control Shift, but you gotta drag it from the other side. So basically Control Shift, drag it over this, so we only see this part, so nothing else bothers us. If you click F, it zooms in onto these parts, So because I do this because it's a lot easier than, zooming all the way in and out. Now we see this part is a bit outwards, it's going outwards, but this part is then obviously inwards, right? So we're just gonna draw mask. I'm holding Control and just left mouse button. I'm just going around, you see? Just going around. You can obviously skip this part if you don't want to make it, but I would want to show you guys, I think there's value in you seeing this. And I do the same on the other side. I don't want to do it one by one because then I lose the stroke size that I have. So just all the way around. Not everything is automated, guys. Sometimes you gotta have a little bit of patience. And then we do this. So now you can move the size up a bit, but not too much. And then you hold it over this must part. And if you drag it, look at this. Look at how nicer it looks. But don't overdo. don't overdo it. It will do opposite effect. You see? So we do the same here. You can also make it, you can make it a bit bigger, you know. Brush doesn't have to be perfect. Maybe it's even better, but you see it's a bit too much. I did it a bit too much. This is okay. There you go. And then you just Control Shift somewhere else and you have this. So this is one way you can have this. You can also, you don't have to do it this way. You can do it a million other ways. You can draw it like this, right around. I mean, it's up to you. I mean, this is just the way I think is pretty good to do it. And I clicked Control D. If you don't want to click it, you just go here, you click Divide. It's pretty much the same thing. If you want to, you can also do, you know, special different, what are they called? Folds. You can do your own thing. You can put in even, you can even do stitches here if you want. There are default ones. It's up to you. It's completely up to you. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I can give you examples of what you can do. So there should be stitches here. You see, you have these basic ones. They're free. They come with ZBrush. You just can draw it, you know. I don't like to do this yet, but if you want to, you can do it, and it's going to look good later on. But I don't want to do it now. What was I saying? We just export it as high pants, and we're sticking to naming convention that I use. If you can have your own, but it's important that you differ all of the files. You don't want to save this over your raw file that you pulled out of Marvel's Designer, because later down the line, if you notice something is horribly wrong, you won't be able to fix it. You'll need to go back into Marvel's Designer and then find the file if it's there. If it's not, you can do without it, then do without it. Let's see if there's anything I spotted that is wrong. Nothing is wrong. Everything is okay. This looks a bit odd, but you know, it's the back part is a bit tense. You can see it, so I can accept that. If you go into subtools, now we need to make optimized version of this. This is like 2.28 million polygons. If you put this into a game, it's not that your game will crash, the entire world will crash. So you want to go into subtools and you want to duplicate. When you duplicate it, we hide the first one, you remember that, and we select the second. So in here, we go to geometry. You can also click Shift F so you see this if you have polygroups, right? If you don't have anything, if you only have one color, remember, go into polygroups and you click Auto Group with UV. But we're going back into geometry, Z remesh, keep groups. You must select this. You must select this. If you don't select this, okay, I'll show you what happens if you don't. I'll be a guy that doesn't listen to me. Now, pay attention to these edges. You see the edges, how they go. You see them now. You can see them clearly because they're different color. Let's see what happens when I just deselect the groups and I continue doing this. Do you see those lines still? Do you know how the line used to look like? Let me show you. This is how the line used to look like. This is how it looks now. So you need to manually do these things, UVs, and they would go like around all the way. And you see, it's pretty stupid. It makes no sense to do it this way. I mean, this is still quads and it is okay, but the UVs and seams would look a bit off if you ask me. So we go back and we go into keep groups and we put smooth groups all the way down. We can select it at target polygon count at 2. I always select 2. It's just okay. It's not too low, it's not too big either. It's just like perfect. Although if you work on any Skyrim related projects, I don't know if you're watching this to join, I don't know, either Skyblivion or others, they have a different poly count levels you must obey. So this entire thing would probably be like 1,000 polygons if you were to join those groups. I know because I did. And let's see, we're gonna click Z remesh again because I'm not happy with the way it looks, and I'm not happy again we're going back, we're putting smooth all the way up, and we're doing crease, and we're gonna do crease polygroups. When we do crease polygroups, you remember what we do. It adds thick line here that doesn't allow the mesh to deform in a way that's not supposed to. It sticks to the lines, see? Oftentimes it's back and forth, but you know how it is. You can also do all of this manually, but I would not recommend you if you're a beginner. I know how to do it. I can do a tutorial once, but I try to avoid it too because it's very time consuming. This is still way too many polygons. It's like 4K, 5K just for pens. But I don't know. I don't mind. Let's try 1.5. Let's see how it will look. So ZRemesh 1.5. This is okay. And if you wonder why are the both same, for example, if you have both sides same, it's because you forgot to turn off symmetry. But let's go to subtool. Let's see our high poly one. So there's obviously big difference between them. So if you select your low poly one, you can do, if you click Shift F, you're only going to see the wireframes of the one you have selected. So that's how you know which one you have selected. And we want to go into project, and you want to do project all. And I'll explain to you what this button does. So let's say, okay, I'll just hide the, you see this is our low poly model. So when we do ZRemesh, when we do things, it kind of smooths it like this, right? But what if it is smooth, but in a high poly model, we have this part here. You see this part here, and let's see in the low poly. In low poly, you can still see it. But if it is smooth entirely and you do project, it's going to bump this part so it's outwards, so it fits your high poly. It's really simple. You just gotta, try it a couple of times and you'll understand what I mean. But I'm kind of happy with this. It's not too many polygons. It is actually quite good. You can have more. You can use 2 as well. It's entirely up to you. You find the polygon count that works for you. This works for me. Yeah. I always try to keep it a bit more lower poly for the sake of simplicity and everything. But if you obviously have higher poly count, but I don't mean absurdly high, like 30,000, 10,000, that is way too much for pens. Like 4K is also okay, 5K, that can pass. But I like to stay on the lower end. So you go into Z plugin next, and you go into UV master. Then you deselect symmetry, select polygroups, click unwrap. You know why we're doing this. We already did it in the shirt. So we want to save it as low_pens. And we want to go into Blender with it. So we can minimize this or close it how you like. We're going into Blender. And in Blender, we're going to import it. Now I get to show you what I meant, but I figured there's a better way of doing it. But I'll show you. You can, we need to still unwrap this. This is not good, like we did with the shirt. Right click, shade smooth, so that we hide those squarish parts. Select everything, go up here, select UV editor. This is our UV. Click A to select everything. UV seams from islands. And you see it is not ideal. It is not ideal, but what can we do about it? Click A, click U, unwrap. We unwrapped it now. And you see how little space it takes. I already see something is off, but I'll show you how can we fix it. So what did I mean is off? You see this line here? We can hide it, so we can only use the inside line. This is what I mean. Go into edit mode and select the edge here. When you hold Alt and you click, it's going to select an entire edge loop, right? And you hold Shift and Alt again, and you select this part, and then Shift, you select this part. You go U, clear seam. We don't need a seam. We do the same on the other side. Shift Alt, Shift Alt, Shift Alt, till we reach the end. Also up here, Shift Alt, Shift Alt. And yeah, but actually we will need it, and I see why. I see why, but I'll show you one. I'll show you a trick. I'll show you a trick. So I'll show you a trick how you can manually do it. Click U, clear seam. We don't need it. This seam we will also won't need, and we won't need this one. So I'm just holding Shift and I'm clicking Alt, right? Ooh, clear seam. We don't need this seam either. Ooh, clear seam. Now you'll learn how to UV unwrap by hand and what do you need to look out for, and how to get. This was our UV before. You see it on the side. It's horrible. Do you see how little space it takes? It needs to take all of this, but it cannot because of the way it's set up. So look what happens now. This is still horrible, but what do you see when you look at this? You see, okay, let's see. You see, what is this part? This part here. You know that this part is up here, but it's staying as circle. But we don't want it as circle. We want it as rectangle because it is rectangular. Do you see? It's like a rectangle. So what do we do? You go closer to it. You click here and click here. You can click anywhere as long as you can do it here, for example, or wherever you want. But I like to do it on the side because players notice it the least on the sides. If you do it right here, they will notice it. But in here, they might not. So I don't know. Let's see if it's going to be perfectly on the side. Maybe here. You click U and you click Mark Seam. And then you do again. You select everything with A, U, unwrap. And now you see this turns into something that it's supposed to look like. If you have it as a circle, it's when you place textures later on, it's going to be horrible. Now let's carry on. What is this part here? You see, these parts are actually separate and there's two of them. So those are our parts here. If you're not certain which part you have selected, you can select the face up here and you hover over something, let's say over pants, and you click L, and then it selects the entire UV island. So this is its UV island. You see, if we select this, L, it selects it. It's this one. This is this one, and this is the other thing. You get it. But so what we see is this is good, this is also good, and this is good. The shape is okay. We can also optimize it, and I'll show you how. There are also add-ons to do it. I'll show you what I will do, but you don't have to. It's perfectly okay if you don't do it. But we need to do something about the pant part, because do you see, look at this, do you see in a perfect world, just so you know, every square in UV would be the same width, same height, and everything. But you see that in here it is good, but in here it is smaller and smaller. That means that if we put texture over it, in here it will be very, very stretched. It will be very stretched. So if you have number 1 here, it would look like this, and then like this, and then like this. You get the point. So we need to do something about it. What do? We need to add these red lines so that we split it into 2. So we fix it. So where can you do it? Look at this. If we go zoom in, you see this part here? You can do Shift Alt. Try to make it perfectly in the middle. If you don't have it, if you don't have a perfect middle like I do, there's a little trick you can do. If you hover your mouse in the middle, you do Control R and you click and you get this, and then you can move like here, I don't know, doesn't matter, and you right click, it's going to be perfectly in the middle. So I selected this one and I click U and I click Mark Seam. But I think of one thing in advance. And I'll show you what I mean. I'll show you over ZBrush. You remember how we made this part here? And if I was to do a new line, it would end up like here, like seam line. So I sadly cannot use this. I need to go back. I need to use this one. Or what I can do is I can use half of one and then the other half of another, which also works. I'll show you. I'll do it like that and I'll show you what I mean. So I did Control R and I did it here, right? My line will not start from here because that is part of a different poly island. UV island, which is already okay. I don't need to touch it. If I was to make another line here, it would separate it into two, and that is not what I like. So I'm clicking here, shift clicking down. You see, when you have lower poly count, it's easier to do these things. But if you have bigger poly count, it has different advantages too. Now look at this. I stopped here, but I don't need to continue here. I can continue from here too, just to keep it perfectly in the middle here. And this will just make a little offset, which we can fix later. It's really not that big of a deal. So I'm doing the same thing here. And you might wonder, well, is there a way you can fix it somehow? And yes, there is. We can also fix it. I'll show you. If you go into, I click number 1 on my numpad. So I'm in the front view. You see, it's perfect front view. I select vertical up here, and then I can select these, you see, individual vertices. And if you click O, it will turn on this tool. And what that tool does is it allows you to do this, you see? But if you click G, and then you scroll with the middle mouse inside, it's gonna make it smaller, you see? But I don't want it to be perfectly small, maybe like this. And then I do X, I press X, and I just move it like this. Whoop. And I do it a bit of here, and I do it a bit here, and I do it a bit here. You see, I'm trying to somehow make it look better. You see, now it's almost in the middle. You don't want to go way too crazy with this, because there might be offset between the high poly version and the low poly version, and we don't want that. But okay, so we made a line. What do you think we will get in UV island from this when we unwrap it now? Let's see. Aha! Do you see what it is? This is pent, right? And this is the other one. So it takes a lot more space. It looks better, and I'm happy with it. But if you want to select islands individually here, you can hover over them, click L, 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 and you can just move it to your likings. Now, if you don't like the way it's packed, although this pack will work perfectly, you can do S, you can scale it up and down, but there are also algorithms that do this for you. So if you have tools, if you leave it like this, like we got it, it will be perfectly okay. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be okay. And as a beginner, this doesn't play that much, it's not a huge thing for you because you don't understand it fully yet, and you will probably make some different mistakes that will be bigger than this. If you leave it like this is what a lot of people do. I saw some of the more popular mod authors that originally made clothing leave it like this, and it's perfectly normal. If you want to go crazy with it, I'll just show you what you can do. There are add-ons. There's like a UV Packer magic. You see, it's called UV Packer. You can select, 4K pack. You see how much space it takes. This is like an algorithm. You can find it if you type in UV Packer on the Google. It will show up, and it's gonna work. It's better because it takes more space. Do you see? You can also do it manually, and it's going to also be okay. You can also see, do you want it rotated? In a perfect world, this is how they would look like. They would look like this. I'm just rotating it so you see. They would look like this, or like perfect 90 degree, and this one would be, I don't know, something like this. You see, and they would be perfectly aligned. But in the real world, it's not always possible. Why does this matter? I will explain to you better when we start making Shemak. I'm going to do something special with it, even though it's not here, just so you can learn, or maybe I can do it with Hood too, so you can learn UVs a bit better. Let's say this is not also perfect, especially not for Skyrim, because there is something called dithering. And what it means is when you have texture, if you have a texture here, for example, it might be abstract for you now because you didn't do it yet. But I'm trying to explain something to you that we will do in the future, but it's good to keep it in mind when you do UVs. When you do texture, let's say this is like a letter. It has a leather texture over it. But it's not just this. It's a tiny bit, like it depends on how many pixels you select out here. And those pixels would go into this part. You see how close it is. So that is also not good. So you must keep an eye out on those things. You don't want it to be way too close, because it is efficient, right? But it's not the way we want it to be. So what you can do in that case, you can make it a tiny bit smaller, and you can move it to the side, just like this. So it's not like, now you might wonder, how am I doing this? You click L over it, and then you can do R and S and whatever you want. But try to keep them same size. I don't scale only one. When I scale them in the both time, in the same time, because in one you would have much better texture than in the other if you don't do it. And so scale them both in the same time if that's what you do. And now I'm just rotating these, moving them up a bit, maybe where there's plenty of space. There's also one more thing you can do to save space with this type of objects. You see, this object is pretty much a rectangle. I don't know, do you see it? If you straighten it, it's going to work perfectly too. So you can also do that if you want, but it cannot go past this square. This square is representing our UV area. If it goes outside of it, it will repeat from this side. That is, I don't want to bother you with that. That is very important for people that do buildings, because it's called texture tiling, and don't worry yourself with it. If you do texturing of buildings or you do architecture, maybe one day I'll show you how that works, but not now. It's a bit complicated to show now. But I'll show you what else you can do. There's also add-on called UV square, and it allows you to do this. It turns the angled thing into completely straight UV island. In some cases this is good, but it's not always good. And you might be like, why is it not good? Look, if you pay attention to this difference between these rectangles, look at the distance here and look at the distance here. Now let's find where those are. Those are these, the ones I made, right? But what is problem with it? If you turn it into a rectangle, it's going to lose its curvature. It's not the same. Do you see? Look at the distance from here and distance from here. It's not the same, right? But if you force it to be the same, it's going to cause some texture bleeding. I mean, not texture bleeding, but also some stretching. If you have, for example, this belt area, we'll call it elastic area. If you have it cut in two pieces, then that is not as prevalent. But if you want to do art on it, you know, for example, you want to do, I don't know, I'll give you a stupid example. You want to have gold lining here, and you want to draw it by hand. If you want to do that, it would be best that you sacrifice texture quality and you make this perfectly rectangular, like 90-degree angle. It's gonna make sense, don't worry. In any way, I'm happy with this, and I'm going to export it as OBJ in tutorial, and it is low pens. Now let me show you one more thing. This is for this is something that I wanted to tell you, and it's about the shirt. You don't have to do this, but please watch. I changed my mind on this, but I still want to show you. You remember when we did shirt UV, and this is what we got. And I told you there's plenty of space. And I told you that you can also combine them together so that you have less space, right? And now only now I see how different poly size is. I should have kept this at 4, but it's too late now. Doesn't matter. It's still okay. If you want to keep it at higher poly count, you can always go subdivision and you can subdivide pens to get more poly count, you see. But you lose the things you shouldn't lose. Now, what will I do with this? So I will not pair these two together. I will pair shirt with the shemag once we make it. This is a shemag, right? The scarf. Because you see it's pretty much the same texture material. This is some kind of, I don't know, maybe this is some kind of, how do you call that? It's not cotton, but it's satin, I believe. Really thick satin. And this is like some kind of cotton. So, but it looks similar. Its color is similar. We can use the same texture for both. But pens are something that will go more leather-ish or latexy. So when I make shemagh, it's going to go here with the same texture set as the shirt. Now you might think like, what are you on about? What is a texture set? Texture set is this thing here. Now, please, I know this might give you a brain burning, but please listen to me now. This here is UV map. This here is also UV map, but it's not texture set. Texture set is combination of diffuse map and normal map for Skyrim. And also you can have a environmental map and stuff, but don't worry about it. We look at diffuse and normal map. So how do you say, so it's like when you, I'll show you here. It's best to show you because when I'm talking, it's best that you see an example. So for example, into my latest model, right, that I made. Where is it? I don't know. Let's go with Crimson Outfit. It doesn't matter. Do you see? In there, I had boots. D, this is diffuse, normal, and M. This is like a mask for environmental map. These three things are one texture set, but they're three different textures. What I could have done is, for example, you see cloak. There's cloak. It's a second texture set. So these are two texture sets. These here will be two texture sets because they are separate. Do you see it? If I want to make them same texture set, it wouldn't be 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, like this much size space. Okay, what much is this? 25. No, I'm stupid. 25 without those 500 extras, but it would be like 15 megabytes. Do you get what I mean? So I can combine this and this into same texture set, into same UV, so that we have one texture set. How do you do it? And how many texture sets you have is dependent on this thing down here. So you see, this is default material. I can call it shirt. This is material that corresponds with my shirt. No, this one, sorry. You see, I click assign. This is shirt 001. That's here. These will be pants, but it was stupid. You see, these are two texture sets. This is called material in Blender, but I don't know if I'm confusing you. I'm sorry, but it's important that you at least try to understand this, because when we get to texturing, you'll face this. And if you make a mistake here, you don't recognize where can you save space and where can you not save space, you're going to have big problems. Huge problems. So listen, we will keep pants as their own texture set. So they will have their own, like pants N, pants D, pants M, because they take too much space. And if I would go for less than this, their quality would be trash. Okay, you see how much space they take. Let's go here. We have shirt. No matter how I manipulate it, it's going to have a lot of space left. I mean, I can go crazy. I can do it like this, you see, and but I'm not going to do it. It's not important because this is already good. But because there's plenty of space here, I'm going to combine it with something else to fill that space and save megabytes for people that download the mods, and for myself as well, because it's optimization, and optimization is very important. You know, most of people, I've seen it in mods, they have, like, for example, sleeves. You have a shirt like this and you have sleeves, and each sleeve is its own texture set. So the guy has to download 100 megabytes of textures instead of 10. And it's because the guy that did it probably, I don't know, either bought it or something from the internet, and that's not how it works, my friend. That's what I wanted to show you here. But next up, this is, so our pants are done. Did I export it already? Let me just see, just so I know. Low pants. Yeah, I did. But anyways, we still don't have thickness, neither on them nor on shirt, but we have them done. What I would do next is, let me see, is there a way that I can check how much time did I record, just so I don't go crazy. It doesn't matter. Maybe I can fit one more thing to show you how it's done. Maybe a hood or shemagh in Marvel's Designer. I think there's plenty of time. So let's go into Marvel's Designer. I know, I'm sorry if I'm confusing you guys with this, but just keep on doing what I tell you. And at this point, some things might be blurry to you because you're new to this. But the more you do it, the better you'll get. And you will see what I'm telling you. And when you look back at this video, you'll be like, oh, but I was doing it this way, but this guy already told me how it's better. You know, I do this for like, I don't know, 6 years or even more. Maybe I think it's 6 or 8 years I do this. I know probably a lot more than you do. But there's people that know a lot more than I do. So even I will learn something new. But it's important that you don't overwhelm yourself, but you listen to those that are more experienced than you, just like I do. Don't get discouraged. But let's keep on working on what we want to. We don't need to continue on the previous project. We can make a new one. Let's import the body we had earlier. So 3D, Skyrim, tutorial. No, it's not tutorial. It's in base and it was called 3BA something fixed, I remember. You can, if this is annoying you, you can choose details and it's a lot easier. See, new 3BA fix. We said 19. Get used to this. Don't forget it. Okay. I'm wondering, should I make hood or should I make shemag? Shemag is a bit harder to make, so maybe that's what we should do now. But hoods are a lot easier to do in ZBrush, but we'll do it here too. So let's start with the basic shemag. Shemag is actually a lot longer than you think. It's not only this long, but a lot more. So you put it like this and you drag this. So there's plenty of space here. And right from the start, maybe I should go even higher with it, but let's see how do we fold it. I'm thinking about this. Maybe a bit longer still. You're like, oh, what are you doing? That's too long. No, it's never too long, man. It's never too long, my friend. So we're gonna change the particle distance right from the start. So we're gonna change it to, I don't know, 5. No, that's too little. Maybe 10. 10 will do fine. No, let's go 5. Let's go 5. And I'll show you something new. You don't know about this yet. If you see this third icon up here, it's called pin box. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to draw over this. So I'll show you now just a simulation of what it does. These parts will not move no matter what, but everything else will. Do you see? So we'll use this tool to our advantage because we're going to fold the shemag around the head. So this is a bit weird because you need to know how it's done properly in real life to be able to do it here. But look at this. If we have it on both sides, you see it's bouncing up and down like crazy, but we need to do something about it. So we will take this part and we'll drag it closer. It's laggy because do you see the simulation it needs to do? It's crazy. When you're doing stuff like this, I would recommend you wholeheartedly to do it on a new project. And I just figured this is still, 5 is still too much. 5 is way too much. It will crash the program. Stop it. Stop the simulation. Go with 10, guys. Go with 10. Let's not mess around with this. Maybe it is a bit too long in the end. Maybe it really is. But the simulation still doesn't stop. You know that it stops when this arrow turns white. But sometimes it starts again because you click it by mistake like I did. Let's go with 10. Okay. And this is what happens when you change the... This is why I wanted to go with 5 right from the start, because you get issues like this and you don't want to deal with them, and neither do I. Let's change the fabric to something else. This one is way too soft. Let's go with... When you're in doubt, just select rib. It always works. It's a pro tip. Always go rib. It's good for everything. So I am just... It's flying around by itself. I don't know. I'm not even doing it. It's like tying itself around it. It's doing job for me. It's doing my job. Okay. There's a little freeze going on, and that is normal. Do you see how it flies? It's insane. You can go crazy here. You can do it however you like. Don't worry way too much about the way that it's facing. It's going to be two-faced anyways. But it would be best if it is if this is like the outer side is outside, because when we add thickness, that's going to matter. So let's try to make it work. I'll try to make the outside part outside. Ooh, this is a bit difficult, but that's the way it goes. You should see when you try to tie things in Marvel's Designer. That is a nightmare. That is worse than this, and this is pretty bad. So I'm not the best guy at this, but at least I'm showing you the way. I had a chance to do this a couple of times. This is how I did it for my rogue outfit. Most of you probably know about that one. It was done similar to this. It was a nightmare, but in the end, it worked. And I'm thinking, is there a way that I can? Maybe it's a bit too thick. No, yeah, it is. It's a bit too big. So I'm going to make it a bit smaller. And also there is one thing called tack, or maybe I'm stupid, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's basically this, it's tack, you see? So we want to do tack, just the normal one, and you want to click here and then here. So it's going to tack this part here. Do you see? So you can do one more here if you want. And that fixes it for us, so we don't need to worry about this side, and we still have this side. You can do the same with it. It's just however you want. Some people like to leave it hanging on the back. That's also good. You know, find what you like. Find what you like. But Shemak, do you see how it's perfect rectangle? And that will help us when we do something with it. That I will not spoil for you what we'll do with it. But you'll see and you'll say, wow, this is really cool. Okay, it went back. Now you might think, what am I thinking now? What am I looking out for? And I'm looking out for this part. It looks really bad and I don't like it at all. So I'm trying to somehow see if I can push the outer part there, but it's not working. You know, I should maybe look those videos. How are they tied around the neck? That works. So if you do that, that works. I did it once. Maybe I did it for rogue outfit. I think that's how I did it. So I'll take this part here. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just trying to. This works. It works. And this part, what do I do with it? I have no idea. Maybe toss it up somehow. This is a bit too. This is okay. I don't know. It's okay for me. It's something. It works. And that's important. So we can change since we don't have pins anymore, these are tacks, they're not pins, we can change the particle distance to what we want. Change it to like, I don't know, 5 now. We can go even lower. But before we do it, do you remember when we did what we did with the pants and the shirt? You go offset, eternal line. This looks better for the edges. I always do this. It's a good habit to have. It gives it a bit of texture. So you do here and here too. So I want to have it crossing. I want to have it like this. Why? I don't know. It's my fashion design, fashion choice. So we're done with this. You see how it also helps you to tell where the where the thing is going inside and where it's not supposed to. But you cannot always fix it. Let's see what we do now. So we have to do particle distance at 3. scarves and shemmags are often nightmares, and you will see why. This is still nothing compared to what we'll face with it when it comes to texturing and we get baking artifacts. But you know, we gotta survive it. Okay. Could I do it better? Definitely. Will I? I don't think so. You can spend as much time as you want here. My job is to teach you how to do it, not make the most perfect shemag in the world. Look at the videos at YouTube, see how they're folded in real life. So when you find it in real life, it's going to be a lot easier to do it here. But you know, so the more research you do, the better your model in the end will be. Let's say that we want to do a layer clone under. We can, don't worry, this is not its final shape. You can still change it in ZBrush, and I'll show you how. But we cloned under. We did this already for the pants and for the shirt, so we're doing the exact same thing for this. And in here, it's a bit more obvious what is done. You see how it pops the edges and the underlines and everything. Yeah. And now I just remembered one more thing. You know, when people do those science fiction pens and they have those straps like this, you can go crazy, but you need to delete this and then try it again. You can do like you know, those lines. Let me show you what I mean. Just to I'm not being stupid. So look, if you select edit pattern, for example, and you select this pattern up, the top pattern, and you select the bottom one, and you're going to offset as a turner line. Now look at this. Instead of just clicking OK, we'll up this amount a lot. And we want to make sure that the inside maybe a bit like this. I don't know, this is just an idea. You can, if you want it to be perfect, you can also make it perfect, but I am not going to, I think. You see this? And all of this will be visible on your bake. So maybe like this. You see, I'm trying to make it even. And you can also go crazy. You can do it like this too. Oh yeah, also this. You see, if you don't want it to go over this, that's perfectly fine. You just hover your mouse over this. I hope it doesn't crash. Because I should have saved it, but I still didn't. I'm going to take a risk. So you move it up here, so you don't get it there. It's fixed on the other side, but we have to fix this side. So you go like this, and you move it here. This is like a little tip that not a lot of people know about. And you go Control Save. We'll just call it shemag. And you can also do lines from top to bottom, just whatever you want. What you can imagine, you can make. You just go crazy. Maybe I can do it just to show you, but let's see. So you select this one. I don't know. You right click it, and you go into offset as a turner line, and you just make a lot of them. Click OK. See, I don't know if it will reach the end. It won't. Look at how many I made. Maybe a bigger space. Okay. Let's make it more. Let's go insane. But I'll make a bigger space between them, and I'll say I want like 200 of them. Even if it goes way too crazy, it's not that big of a deal. We can just delete the excess ones. So you see, these are excess ones, and we remove this one, and then you just drag all over it, and you remove the rest. See, and we shift click these. It's not that big of a deal. Oops, don't do it like I did. Don't do that. Don't do that. That is not good. Come on. I cannot believe that I need to manually deselect it. Okay, I don't have to. So it will delete these extra ones. And what happens now is, if you're doing something crazy like this that has a higher chance of crashing, then I would recommend you to save it before we do this crazy stuff. And let's see what happens if we do layer clone under. Now these lines should look really crazy. They should look really crazy. But it gives you an idea. You can use this for, you know, those checkered shirts. And a lot of people don't know about this, so that's why I'm showing you. I can say this is something I'm happy with. I'm not happy with the design, but it's not exactly the same, but I'm just showing you things you can do that you can use for your own projects. That's the idea. So go File, Export, OBJ selected, and we export it as tutorial raw shemag. We said everything that comes out of Marvelous is raw. And we go weld, thin, remember 1% in millimeters. Okay. And I think that should be it for this video. And I'll see you in the next one, guys, where we optimize it. Or maybe I should optimize it now. What do you think? Yeah, let's do it now when we're already here. Let's do it now. Let's optimize it now. Import shemag tutorial raw shemag. Here it is. Look at how crazy it is. So we go to polygroups and we go to auto groups with UV, and it's only one UV, you know that, and it's not perfect, but it's okay. And I think there is something I can show you with this that you don't know, but okay, I think it's gonna be in next video. Yeah, we have to make it in the next video. I'll show you how to use UV to make alphas in ZBrush. So what it is I'll explain it in the next video. Bye bye, guys. In the next one. Bye bye.